She was already bleeding when the gun hit the floor. Nobody saw who pulled the trigger. But everyone saw the girl scream. "I chose her," the child cried, her voice breaking as she ran forward, slipping on polished marble already stained red. "I chose her, Daddy. You promised." The room froze. 5 rich women stood in silence, their designer heels rooted to the ground, their carefully practiced smiles shattered into something ugly: shock, fear, anger. And in the middle of it all, the maid. She lay crumpled, her uniform soaked, her breath shallow, her eyes struggling to stay open. The most powerful man in the room didn't move. Not at first. Then slowly, the Mafia boss stepped forward. His voice was low. "Dangerous. Who did this?" No one answered. Because everyone already knew. This wasn't an accident. This was a message. And it all started the moment his daughter made her choice. 3 hours earlier. "I don't like them." Her voice was small but firm. The room was too big for a child, filled with wealth that didn't feel warm, just heavy. Cold chandeliers. Long glass tables. Silence that pressed against your chest. The Mafia boss leaned back, watching his daughter carefully. "You haven't even spoken to them yet." "I don't need to," she said. 5 women sat across from her, dressed like royalty. Each one powerful in her own way: money, influence, family connections. Perfect candidates to become the new queen of this house. Perfect, on paper. The girl folded her arms. "They're pretending." One of the women forced a laugh. "Children have wild imaginations." "I'm not imagining," the girl snapped, sharper now. "You smiled at me but your eyes didn't. You don't like me." Silence dropped again. The Mafia boss didn't interrupt. He was watching. Testing. Because this wasn't just about finding a wife. This was about finding someone who could survive in his world. "Then tell me," he said finally, his voice calm but heavy with expectation. "Who do you like?" The girl didn't answer immediately. Her eyes moved, past the 5 women. Past the polished table. To the corner of the room. Where someone stood quietly, almost invisible. The maid. She held a tray, her posture straight, her face calm, but her eyes were different. Kind. Real. The girl pointed. "I choose her." The tray slipped. A glass shattered. Every head turned. The maid froze, her face draining of color. "Sir. This is a joke," one of the rich women snapped, rising to her feet. "You brought us here for this?" Another scoffed. "A maid? Are you serious?" The girl didn't back down. "She listens to me." "She's paid to listen," someone muttered. "No," the girl said, louder now. "She cares." The Mafia boss's gaze shifted slowly to the maid. "You," he said. She swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." "Step forward." Every step she took felt like walking into a storm. "I didn't mean to." "Why did she choose you?" The question hit harder than any accusation. The maid hesitated. "Because the truth was dangerous." "I don't know, sir." "Liar." The word wasn't shouted. But it cut deep. The room held its breath. If this story is hitting you right now, pause for a second, tap subscribe and join this channel so you don't miss what happens next. And I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're watching from. Let's see how far this story is reaching. She started, her voice trembling now. "I just treat her like a child. Not like a responsibility." The girl ran to her side instantly, grabbing her hand. "She doesn't lie to me," she said. "She doesn't look scared when I talk. She doesn't try to impress you." That last part lingered. Because it was true. And everyone knew it. The Mafia boss stood slowly. His presence alone shifted the air. "You understand what this means?" he asked the maid. Her heart pounded. "No, sir." "It means," he said, stepping closer, "if she chooses you, you don't stay a maid." The room tensed. "You become part of this family." The words felt like a sentence. Not an offer. The maid shook her head slightly. "Sir, I think." "No." His tone ended the thought. "You don't think. You answer." Silence. The girl squeezed her hand tighter. "Please." The maid looked down at her. At the only person in that house who had ever treated her like she mattered. And in that moment, she made the worst decision of her life. Yes. The reaction was instant. Outrage. "This is absurd. You're making a mistake. This will destroy your reputation." But the Mafia boss raised his hand. And just like that. Silence. "It's done." That was it. One sentence. One decision. Irreversible. The girl smiled for the first time that day. And the maid felt something break inside her. Because she knew. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The first sign came quietly. Too quietly. "You should leave." The voice came from behind her. The maid turned. One of the women stood there, her expression no longer fake. Now it was sharp. Cold. "You don't belong here," she continued. "And if you're smart, you'll walk away before you regret staying." "I didn't ask for this," the maid replied softly. "Exactly," the woman said. "Which means you're not prepared for what comes next." A pause. Then she leaned closer. "People die in this house." The maid didn't respond. But something in her eyes changed. Because deep down, she already knew. Dinner was worse. Eyes followed her everywhere. Whispers trailed behind her like smoke. "You think she'll last a week? She won't last a night." The girl stayed close, refusing to let go of her hand. "They're just jealous," she whispered. But jealousy wasn't what the maid felt. It was something darker. Something watching. Waiting. Then came the second sign. A note. Slipped into her hand when no one was looking. "Run." Just one word. No name. No explanation. Her chest tightened. She looked around. But everyone was acting normal. Too normal. That's when she realized. This wasn't about acceptance. This was about survival. And somewhere in the shadows, someone was already planning her death. Back to the present. The blood kept spreading. The girl's screams echoed. "Stay with me," she cried, shaking the maid's body. "You can't leave me." The Mafia boss stood over them, his expression unreadable. But his eyes were no longer calm. They were burning. "This house," he said slowly, his voice carrying through the silence, "has just declared war." No one moved. No one breathed. "Find out who did this," he continued. "And when you do." A pause. "Deadly. Don't bring them to me alive." The command landed like thunder. Because now, this wasn't just about a choice. This was about consequences. And the next move would cost someone everything. She didn't die. That was the first problem. Her fingers twitched. Barely. But enough. "I saw that," the girl cried, her voice breaking as she leaned closer, shaking. "Daddy," she moved. Every guard in the room tensed. The Mafia boss dropped to one knee instantly, his hand pressing against the wound, his voice sharp. "Call the doctor. Now." "I already did," someone answered from behind. No, he snapped, eyes blazing. Not the hospital. Bring my doctor. Because this wasn't just an injury. This was an attempted execution. And whoever failed, would try again. Minutes stretched like hours. The room emptied except for a few trusted men, the girl, and him. And her. The maid lay on the cold marble, her breathing shallow, uneven, fragile. Stay with me, the girl whispered, clutching her hand tightly. You promised you wouldn't leave. The Mafia boss watched silently. Then finally. Why? He asked. The question wasn't directed at the maid. It was directed at his daughter. She looked up, tears streaking her face. What? Why her? He pressed, his voice lower now, quieter, but heavier. Out of everyone, why did you choose her? The girl's lips trembled. Because she's the only one who didn't look at me like I was a tool. Silence. She listens when I talk, she continued, her voice cracking. She doesn't interrupt. She doesn't fake smiles. She doesn't try to impress you. Her grip tightened. She just stays. That word hit something deeper than expected. Because staying in his world was the hardest thing to do. Sir. A man stepped forward, careful, cautious. We found something. The Mafia boss didn't look away from the maid. Say it. A weapon. Clean. Unregistered. Inside the house. Yes. Now he stood. Slowly. Dangerously. That means, he said, voice dropping into something colder, this isn't an external attack. No one spoke. Because they all understood what that meant. The enemy was already inside. The doctor arrived without ceremony. No greetings. No hesitation. She needs to be moved, he said quickly, already examining the wound. Now. Will she live? The girl asked, her voice small again. The doctor didn't answer immediately. Which was answer enough. She will, the Mafia boss said firmly. Not hope. Not belief. A decision. Because in his world, if he said you lived, you lived. They moved her upstairs. The girl refused to let go. I'm staying with her. No, he said. Yes, she snapped, surprising everyone. You said I could choose. I chose her. That means she's mine too. A dangerous statement. Ownership. Attachment. Weakness. But he didn't argue. Fine, he said. But you don't interfere. I won't, she said quickly. Just, don't send her away. A pause. Then. I won't. But even as he said it, he knew that promise might break. Hours passed. The house changed. It felt tighter. More suffocating. Guards doubled. Doors locked. Eyes watched everyone. Trust was gone. She shouldn't be here. The voice came from the hallway. Sharp. Controlled anger. One of the 5 women stood with arms crossed, her gaze fixed on the Mafia boss. This is exactly what I warned you about. He didn't respond immediately. She's a liability, the woman continued. Look at what just happened. Your enemies will use her. Your allies will question you. Your empire. Careful. One word. Enough. But she didn't stop. No, she said, stepping closer. You need to hear this. You built everything on control. On power. And now you're risking it, for what? A child's emotional decision. Silence stretched. Then. She almost died, the boss said quietly. And next time she will, the woman replied without hesitation. And when she does, it won't just be her. That hung in the air. Because it was true. Inside the room. The maid's eyes fluttered open. Slow. Painful. Blurry. The first thing she saw was the girl. You came back, the child whispered, relief flooding her voice. The maid tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her throat burned. Her body screamed. But her mind was clear. Dangerously clear. You need to leave, she whispered weakly. The girl froze. What? This place. She struggled, each word costing her strength. It's not safe. I know, the girl said quickly. That's why you have to stay. I need you. The maid's heart tightened. Need. Such a simple word. Such a dangerous one. No, she whispered. You don't understand. I do, the girl snapped, tears falling again. Everyone here lies. Everyone pretends. But you don't. You're the only real thing I have. Silence. Heavy. Breaking. The maid closed her eyes briefly. Because that was the problem. She wasn't supposed to matter. Outside. Search every room, the Mafia boss ordered. No one leaves. No one enters. And the women, one of his men asked carefully. A pause. They stay. That decision shifted everything. Because now the suspects were trapped inside. Night fell. But no one slept. She spoke. The doctor's voice cut through the tension. The Mafia boss turned instantly. What did she say? The doctor hesitated. Then. She told the girl to run. Silence. Cold. Sharp. That changed the story. Because now. This wasn't just an attack. It was a warning. The Mafia boss stepped into the room. The maid's eyes met his instantly. And for a moment. Neither spoke. Because both understood something the others didn't. This wasn't random. This wasn't chaos. This was calculated. You know something, he said finally. Not a question. A statement. The maid swallowed. Her body weak. But her mind racing. Because telling the truth could kill her. But staying silent might kill the girl. She started. Her voice trembled. Not from fear. But from the weight of the choice. I wasn't hired normally. The room stilled. What does that mean? He asked. It means. She exhaled slowly. I was placed here. The temperature dropped. By who? She hesitated. And that hesitation said everything. The Mafia boss's eyes darkened. Answer me. I don't know his name, she said quickly. I swear. I've never seen his face. But he knew everything about this house. About you. About her. The girl looked between them, confused. What is she talking about? He told me to observe, the maid continued, her voice gaining urgency now. To learn routines. To understand weaknesses. And did you? The boss asked. The question cut deeper than any accusation. The maid didn't answer immediately. Because the truth was complicated. Yes, she whispered. The girl's grip on her hand loosened, just slightly. Why? The child asked, her voice small again. Why would you do that? Tears filled the maid's eyes. Because I didn't have a choice. Silence exploded. Not loud. But devastating. The Mafia boss stepped back slowly. Processing. Calculating. Because this changed everything. You're a spy, he said. No, she said quickly. Not anymore. That's not how this works. I never hurt anyone, she insisted. I never gave them anything important. I swear. Except your presence, he replied coldly. That alone is enough. The girl shook her head rapidly. No, no, she wouldn't. She already did, he cut in. And that broke something. The maid's voice dropped to a whisper. He told me, if I didn't do it, he would kill my family. The words landed hard. Real. Raw. Unavoidable. And now, the boss asked. A pause. Then. He's here. Everything stopped. What? I saw him, she said, her voice shaking now. Not his face, but his movement. His timing. The way he watches without being seen. Fear spread. Fast. He's inside this house, she finished. That was the third shift. Because now. The enemy wasn't just within reach, he was already watching them. Listening. Waiting. The Mafia boss turned to his men. Lock everything down. It already is, one replied. Then tighten it. Yes, sir. The girl looked at the maid, her eyes filled with something new now. Not just fear. Not just confusion. Doubt. You lied to me, she whispered. The maid's chest tightened. I didn't want to. But you did. Yes. Everything. No, she said quickly. Not everything. What I feel, that's real. Silence. Fragile. Breaking. I chose you, the girl said. And I chose you back, the maid replied. That truth was the most dangerous one yet. Because now. This wasn't just about survival. It was about loyalty. And in this house. Loyalty was tested with blood. Somewhere in the dark, a figure watched through the cameras. Smiling. Because everything was unfolding exactly as planned. Good, a low voice murmured. Turn against each other. A pause. Then. Soon, she'll have no one left to choose. Back in the room. The Mafia boss made a decision. Cold. Final. She stays alive, he said. The maid exhaled in relief. Too soon. But under watch. Her heart dropped again. And if she's lying. He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't need to. The girl stepped forward, her voice shaking but determined. I'll watch her. No, he said immediately. Yes, she insisted. If you don't trust her, then trust me. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. Because that request forced another choice. Control. Or connection. And for the first time, the Mafia boss hesitated. Because whatever he chose next would either protect his empire, or destroy his daughter. The knife was already at the girl's throat when the lights went out. A soft click. Darkness swallowed the room. Then her voice, sharp, terrified, cut through it. Daddy! Don't move. The command came from everywhere and nowhere at once. Cold. Controlled. Amused. The girl froze instantly, her breath hitching as something metallic pressed harder against her skin. You should have listened, the voice whispered near her ear. She told you to run. The Mafia boss didn't hesitate. Turn the backup power on. Now. No, the voice cut in, almost laughing. If anyone moves, she dies. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. The kind that makes your heart beat louder than your thoughts. Let her go, the boss said, his voice steady, but something darker coiled underneath. Take me instead. A soft chuckle. You. No. You're the prize at the end. The blade pressed just slightly deeper. A thin line of blood formed. The girl whimpered. Stop, the maid cried from the bed, trying to sit up despite the pain tearing through her body. Please, don't hurt her. Ah, the voice said, almost pleased. The traitor speaks. I'm not. Not what? He interrupted. Not exactly what I made you. Silence. Because he was right. And everyone knew it. The emergency lights flickered on. Dim. Red. Just enough to see shapes. Just enough to see fear. The figure stood behind the girl, one arm wrapped around her, the other holding the knife steady. His face. Still hidden. But his presence filled the room. Calm. In control. Like he belonged there. You've been busy, the Mafia boss said quietly, his eyes locked on him. Getting comfortable in my house. It's not your house anymore, the man replied. Not really. A pause. Then. It's a cage. And I have the key. The girl's voice trembled. Daddy, it hurts. Something inside him snapped. Not visibly. Not loudly. But enough. You don't want to do this, the boss said, stepping forward slightly. I already did, the man replied. The knife pressed again. The maid gasped. Stop, she cried. You said you wouldn't hurt her. I said I wouldn't kill her, he corrected calmly. Pain is part of the lesson. What lesson? The boss demanded. That power, the man said slowly, is only real when it can be taken away. Silence. Then. Drop the weapon, the boss ordered his men without looking. They hesitated. Because that meant giving up advantage. Do it, he repeated. One by one. Guns hit the floor. The tension shifted. Not gone. But different. Because now. The enemy was smiling. That's better, he said. Now we can talk. Talk, the boss echoed. You broke into my home, shot someone, and now you want to talk. I didn't break in, the man replied. I was invited. A glance. Toward the maid. Her face went pale. I told you, she whispered. I didn't know everything. But you knew enough, he said. The girl looked at her, hurt flashing across her face again. You brought him here. No, the maid cried. I didn't know he'd come like this, I swear. Intent doesn't erase consequence, the man said lightly. The boss stepped closer again. Careful. Measured. You want something, he said. Of course, the man replied. I didn't come for chaos. I came for a trade. Silence tightened. What trade? The boss asked. The man smiled. Her. The word dropped like a bomb. The girl froze. The maid's heart stopped. No, the boss said instantly. You didn't even ask which one, the man teased. I don't need to. A pause. Then. You're not taking my daughter. The man sighed softly. That's disappointing. Then his gaze shifted. To the bed. To be clear. I meant her. The maid. Shock rippled through the room. Take me instead, the girl blurted out. No, both the boss and the maid said at the same time. The man chuckled again. Interesting. Loyalty forming already. He leaned slightly closer to the girl's ear. But loyalty is expensive. And someone always pays. Why her? The boss demanded. Because she was never yours to begin with, the man replied. She was mine. The maid shook her head weakly. You said if I did what you asked. I said I'd consider letting you go, he corrected. You misunderstood. You lied. Yes. No hesitation. No shame. The girl's voice broke. You can't take her. I already have, he said softly. And in that moment, it felt true. The boss's mind raced. Options. Angles. Outcomes. Because this wasn't just about saving one person. It was about what losing her would do. To the girl. To the house. To him. Let the child go, he said finally. You take her. No resistance. The maid's eyes widened. No, don't. Silence, he cut in. Because this was the choice. Power. Or her. The girl shook her head violently. No. You promised. You said she'd stay. I said I wouldn't send her away, he replied quietly. This isn't the same. It is. The truth. Cold. Unforgiving. Tears streamed down her face. Then I'll go with her. No, he said immediately. Yes, she shouted. If she leaves, I leave. The room held its breath. Because that changed everything again. The man laughed softly. Now that is unexpected. He tilted his head slightly. A package deal? Stop playing, the boss snapped. You get one. That's it. Then I choose, the man said calmly. And for the first time, uncertainty flickered. He looked at the girl. Then at the maid. Then back again. Weighing. Calculating. Enjoying it. You see, he said slowly, this is what I love about choices. They reveal truth. He tightened his grip slightly. The girl winced. If I take the maid, the child breaks. A pause. If I take the child, you break. Silence. Sharp. Deadly. The Mafia boss didn't speak. Didn't react. But his eyes burned. Because the man was right. So, the man continued, almost gently, which one matters more? No one answered. Because there was no answer. That didn't cost everything. The maid found her voice first. Take me, she said. The girl shook her head desperately. No. Take me, the maid repeated, stronger now. Just, let her go. The man smiled. Brave. Predictable. Then he looked at the boss. And you? Silence stretched. Long. Painful. Then. Take her. The words were quiet. But they shattered something in the room. The girl screamed. No. But it was done. The choice. Made. The man nodded slowly. Wise. Then. In one smooth motion. He shoved the girl forward. She stumbled. Fell. Crawled instantly toward the maid. No, no, no. But hands were already on the maid. Pulling her up. Ignoring her pain. Dragging her toward the door. Don't let them take her, the girl screamed. No one moved. Because the order had already been given. The maid looked back. One last time. At the girl. At the only person who saw her as more than a tool. I'm sorry, she whispered. Then she was gone. The door slammed. Locks clicked. Silence fell. The girl turned slowly. Her face. Empty now. Something inside her had shifted. Broken. Or hardened. I hate you, she said quietly. The words hit harder than any bullet. The Mafia boss didn't respond. Because he knew. This wasn't the end of that sentence. I chose her, the girl continued. And you gave her away. Silence. Then she stepped back. Further. Further. Like distance could protect her. You don't get to choose for me anymore. That was the real consequence. And somewhere in the darkness outside, the man smiled as the car door shut. The maid sat beside him, her hands shaking, her mind racing. You made your choice, he said calmly. She stared straight ahead. No, she whispered. That was just the beginning. Because she knew something he didn't. Something no one else knew yet. She wasn't just placed in that house. She had already changed it. The car hadn't even cleared the gates when she made her move. I need to use the bathroom. Her voice was steady. Too steady for someone who had just been kidnapped. The man beside her didn't look at her immediately. He watched the road, fingers tapping lightly against his thigh like he was counting something invisible. No, he said. Simple. Flat. Final. She nodded once. As if she expected that answer. Then she leaned her head back against the seat and closed her eyes. Waiting. 3 seconds. That was all she needed. Her hand slipped slowly toward her sleeve, careful, controlled, her breathing even. She could feel it. Still there. Good. You're not going to try anything stupid, are you? The man asked suddenly, his tone almost bored. Her eyes opened halfway. No. A lie. Clean. Effortless. He smiled faintly. You were always a terrible liar. That made her pause. Not her hand. Just her mind. You don't know me, she said. I know enough, he replied. I know you hesitate before you act. I know you calculate outcomes you can't control. And I know. He finally turned to look at her. You care too much. Silence. Because that was true. Stop the car. The driver didn't question it. The car slowed. Then halted. In the middle of nowhere. Dark road. No witnesses. No help. Get out, the man said. Her heart skipped. Why? Because I want to see if you'll run. A pause. Then. Or if you've already accepted your place. She stared at him. Trying to read past the calm. Trying to find the trap. Because there was always a trap. Go on, he said, opening the door. Freedom's right there. Cold air rushed in. Carrying silence with it. She stepped out. Slowly. Carefully. The ground felt unsteady under her weak legs, pain flaring through her body with every movement. But she stood. And the road stretched ahead of her. Empty. Endless. Possible. Run. The word came like a challenge. Not an instruction. Her mind raced. Distance. Speed. Injury. Odds. She wouldn't make it far. He knew that. So why? Because I want to see who you are without pressure, he added, answering the unspoken question. No threats. No bargains. Just choice. Choice. That word again. Always that word. She took one step forward. Then another. Her breathing quickened. Her body screamed. But she kept moving. Behind her. Nothing. No footsteps. No commands. No bullets. 10 steps. 15. 20. Then she stopped. Not because she couldn't go further. But because she understood something. Slowly. She turned around. He was still there. Leaning against the car. Watching. Waiting. You're not running, he said. Not surprised. Just, confirming. No, she replied. Why? A pause. Then. Because you wouldn't let me go that easily. A small smile touched his lips. Good, he said. You're learning. She walked back. Each step heavier than the last. But more certain. When she reached him, she didn't speak. Didn't ask. Didn't plead. You're different now, he observed. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. No, she said quietly. Not anymore. He studied her for a long moment. Then. Get back in the car. This time. She didn't hesitate. Back at the house. Silence had turned into something worse. Distance. The girl hadn't spoken in 10 minutes. Not to anyone. Not even when the doctor checked her. Not even when the lights fully came back. She's in shock, the doctor said quietly. The Mafia boss didn't respond. He was staring at the door. Still. Like if he looked long enough. It would open again. You made the right decision. The voice came from behind him. One of the women. Calm. Measured. Calculating. No, he said. One word. Heavy. She stepped closer. You protected your daughter. I traded someone else's life for hers. That's what power is, she replied. Choosing who matters. His jaw tightened. Because he had said those words before. Believed them. Built everything on them. Until now. She's not speaking to you, the woman added. I know. And she won't, she continued. Not until you fix this. A pause. Then. Or replace her. That made him turn. Slowly. Dangerously. Careful, he said. The warning was quiet. But real. I'm just stating facts, she replied. Children adapt. Pain fades. But instability? That destroys everything. She leaned in slightly. You need control again. Control. The word echoed. But it didn't feel the same anymore. Inside the room. The girl finally moved. Slowly. Like something inside her had been switched off. Where are you going? The doctor asked. She didn't answer. She walked past him. Past the guards. Past the door. Stop her, someone said. No. The command came from her father. She kept walking. Until she reached the main hall. The same place it all started. Then she stopped. And turned. You lied. Her voice wasn't loud. But it carried. I didn't. You said I could choose, she cut in. Silence. And I did, she continued. And you took it away. I saved you. No, she said. A pause. Then. You saved yourself. That hit. Because part of him knew. She wasn't wrong. You think she would have survived out there? He asked. Yes. Confidence. Immediate. Unshaken. And what if she didn't? The question hung. Heavy. The girl stepped closer. Her eyes. No longer soft. No longer trusting. Then at least she would have had a chance, she said. You didn't even give her that. Silence fell again. Because that was the truth he couldn't argue with. Bring her back. The words slipped out before he could stop them. The room shifted. What? One of his men asked. I said bring her back. That changed everything. Again. The woman behind him stiffened. You can't be serious. I don't repeat myself. This is emotional thinking, she snapped. It's dangerous. So am I. Silence. Sharp. Final. Find them, he ordered. Now. And just like that, the hunt began. Back in the car, she felt it. The shift. You're being followed, she said quietly. He didn't react. Didn't turn. Didn't ask how she knew. Of course I am, he replied. Did you expect anything less? No, she said. A pause. Then. They'll catch up. Good. That made her frown. You want them to? I want him to, the man corrected. There's a difference. Silence. Because now. This wasn't just an escape. It was a collision. And collisions destroy everything in their path. She looked out the window. The road blurred. The night stretched. And for the first time, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't just part of the plan. She was the reason it was happening. Back at the house, the girl whispered something no one heard. But if they had, they would have understood everything. I'm coming for you. The car flipped before anyone saw the second vehicle. Metal screamed. Glass exploded. And the world spun into chaos. She didn't remember the impact. Only the silence after. Heavy. Ringing. Wrong. When her eyes opened, everything was sideways. The car lay crushed against the edge of the road, smoke curling into the night air. One of the doors hung open, bent like broken bone. Pain hit next. Sharp. Everywhere. But she forced herself to move. Because stillness meant death. Get up. The voice came from somewhere ahead. Calm. Unshaken. She turned her head. He was already out of the car. Standing. Watching. Like nothing had happened. You planned this, she whispered. Of course. Her breath caught. You crashed us. I redirected them, he corrected. There's a difference. Headlights cut through the darkness. Fast. Closing in. They're here, she said. Yes. He looked almost pleased. Hands grabbed her. Pulled her out of the wreckage. Her legs buckled instantly, but they didn't let her fall. Easy, one of the men said. Familiar voice. She looked up. Recognition hit. You. He nodded once. We found you. Relief should have come. But it didn't. Because something felt wrong. Where is he? Another man asked, scanning the area. Right here. The voice came from behind them. Too close. Too calm. Everyone turned. Weapons raised. Tension snapping tight. He stood there. Unarmed. Unbothered. You're late, he said. No one fired. Because something in his tone made hesitation feel like the safer option. Drop to your knees, one of the guards ordered. The man tilted his head slightly. Or what? Or we kill you. A pause. Then. He smiled. No, you won't. And that was when everything broke again. Because one of the guards lowered his gun. Slowly. Deliberately. Then another. And another. The maid's heart dropped. No, she whispered. You see, the man said softly. Control. The realization hit like a punch. They're yours, she said. Some of them, he corrected. Enough. Betrayal spread through the group like fire. On your knees, one of the turned guards said, this time to the others. Confusion. Anger. Fear. What is this? Someone shouted. This, the man said calmly, is the moment your loyalty gets tested. And suddenly, the lines weren't clear anymore. Friends. Enemies. Everything blurred. Don't listen to him, one loyal guard yelled. Too late. A shot rang out. Not at the man. At him. He dropped instantly. Silence. Then chaos. Gunfire erupted. Men turning on each other. Shouts. Blood. She stumbled back, trying to stay out of the crossfire, her body too weak to run, her mind too overwhelmed to think. This wasn't a rescue. It was a trap. And she was in the center of it. Stay down. Hands grabbed her again, different ones this time. Pulling her behind the wreckage. Shielding her. You need to move, a voice said urgently. She looked up. Another guard. Breathing hard. Eyes sharp. Are you with him? She asked. No. Are you with them? A pause. Then. I'm with survival. Not comforting. But honest. Another shot. Closer. Can you walk? She tried. Failed. No. Then I'll carry you. Before she could argue, he lifted her. Pain shot through her body, but she bit it back. Because pain was better than dying here. They moved fast. Through the chaos. Past bodies. Past betrayal. Behind them. The man stood untouched. Untouched. Watching it all unfold. Like he wasn't part of the fight. But the reason for it. You're leaving him, she asked, breath uneven. I'm leaving the battlefield, the guard replied. There's a difference. More shots. More screams. Then. A voice cut through everything. Stop. Not loud. Not desperate. But commanding. And somehow. It worked. The gunfire slowed. Then stopped. Silence fell again. Because he had arrived. The Mafia boss stepped into the scene. His presence alone. Shifted the air. His eyes moved once. Taking everything in. The bodies. The blood. The betrayal. Then they landed. On her. For a moment. Nothing else existed. You're alive, he said. She didn't answer. Because she didn't know if that was a good thing anymore. His gaze shifted. To the man. And something darker surfaced. You went too far. The man smiled faintly. No, he said. I went exactly far enough. A pause. Heavy. Charged. You wanted me to come, the boss said. Yes. Why? The man's eyes flicked briefly to the maid. Then back. Because now, he said slowly, you're ready to listen. Silence. Talk, the boss said. But his tone made it clear. This wasn't a request. It's simple, the man continued. Your empire is rotting from the inside. Loyalty is gone. Control is an illusion. And she. He nodded toward the maid. Proved it. I proved nothing, she said weakly. You proved everything, he corrected. You walked in as an outsider, and they turned on each other for you. That's not power, the boss said. It is, the man replied. Just not yours. Tension tightened again. So what do you want? The boss asked. A reset. The word hung. You step down, the man said. You walk away. And I take control. Laughter almost came. Almost. Instead. Or. The man's expression didn't change. Or next time, he said quietly, it won't be her in the crossfire. The threat landed. Clear. Precise. The maid's heart dropped. Because now, she understood. This wasn't about her. It was about the girl. Everything led back to her. Leave her out of this, the boss said, his voice colder now. I can't, the man replied. She's the reason this works. Silence. Because he was right. Again. The boss's mind moved fast. Options. Outcomes. Costs. Because this was the real choice. Power. Or his daughter. Again. And this time. There might not be a third option. Say yes, the man said softly. And she lives peacefully. And if I don't? A pause. Then. You already know. The air tightened. Everything waited. For his answer. And somewhere far away. A little girl stood at the gates. Watching. Because she had come. Just like she promised. The first gunshot didn't come from the battlefield. It came from behind him. Everyone turned. Too late. The girl stood there. Small. Still. Holding a gun that looked too heavy for her hands. I said stop. Her voice didn't shake. Not anymore. The man's smile faded for the first time. Not fear. Recognition. Well, he murmured. That's new. The Mafia boss's chest tightened. You shouldn't be here. I know, she replied. A pause. Then. But neither should she. Her eyes flicked to the maid. Alive. Barely. But there. Relief flashed across her face. Then hardened into something else. Let her go. The man tilted his head slightly. You came all this way, for her. Yes. Not for him. No. Silence dropped like a blade. Because that answer cut deeper than anything else that night. The boss didn't react. Didn't move. But something inside him shifted. You're brave, the man said softly. Or reckless. I'm done being scared, she replied. A small laugh escaped him. Good. Fear makes people predictable. And you're not predictable, she asked. No, he said. I'm inevitable. The word echoed. Heavy. Final. But she didn't lower the gun. Let her go, she repeated. Or what? He asked calmly. A pause. Then. I shoot. No hesitation. No doubt. The tension snapped tight again. Do you even know how to use that? He asked. No, she said. A beat. Then. But I know what it does. That answer shifted something. Because now. This wasn't a bluff. The maid found her voice. Don't, she whispered. Please, don't do this. The girl didn't look at her. Couldn't. Because if she did, she might break. You told me to run, the girl said quietly. I was trying to protect you. And now I'm trying to protect you. Silence. Because that was the truth. The man watched them both. Calculating. Adjusting. This is interesting, he said finally. Very interesting. What do you want? The girl demanded. I already told you, he replied. Everything. You can't have it. I already do. A pause. Then. Look around. She didn't. Didn't need to. Because she already understood. Broken loyalty. Blood on the ground. Trust. Gone. This is your fault, she said. Good, he replied. That means you're paying attention. Her grip tightened. No, she said. It means you're wrong. That caught him off guard. Explain. She took a step forward. Slow. Careful. You think breaking things makes you powerful, she said. But it doesn't. A pause. It just means you don't know how to build anything real. Silence. For the first time. He didn't have an immediate answer. The Mafia boss watched her. Something unfamiliar rising in his chest. Pride. Dangerous. Unexpected. You built this, the girl continued, gesturing around. Fear. Lies. Control. Her eyes shifted to her father. And look what it became. That hit. Because she wasn't just talking to the enemy anymore. She was talking to him. I tried to choose something different, she said. The maid's breath caught. Something real. Her voice cracked. Just slightly. And you both tried to take it away. Silence. Because now. Everyone was exposed. The man exhaled slowly. Emotion, he said. That's your weakness. No, she replied. It's yours. A beat. Because you don't have any. The words landed. Hard. And something in his expression changed. Just a flicker. But enough. Careful, he said quietly. Or what? She shot back. A long pause. Then. He smiled again. But this time. It didn't reach his eyes. Or I remind you why I always win. He moved. Fast. Too fast. The girl fired. The sound tore through the night. Everything froze. For a second. No one moved. Then. He staggered. Looked down. Blood spread across his side. Not fatal. But real. And for the first time. He looked surprised. You, he whispered. Her hands trembled now. The weight of what she'd done catching up. I told you, she said, her voice breaking. I know what it does. Silence. Then. Chaos almost returned. But the Mafia boss stepped forward. No one moves. Authority snapped back into place. His eyes locked on the man. It's over. A pause. The man straightened slowly. Ignoring the blood. Ignoring the pain. No, he said quietly. It's not. But something had changed. Not just in him. In everyone. Because the illusion was broken. You lost, the girl said. He looked at her. Long. Hard. Then. A small laugh. Maybe, he admitted. A pause. Then. But not completely. Before anyone could react. He reached into his jacket. Guns lifted. Don't, the boss warned. But he didn't stop. He pulled something out. Not a weapon. A small device. And pressed it. Somewhere in the distance. An explosion echoed. Everyone flinched. What did you do? The boss demanded. The man smiled faintly. I made sure this night can't be undone. Sirens began to rise in the distance. Louder. Closer. Police. Backup. Consequences. You think this ends here? He asked softly. No, the boss replied. It doesn't. A pause. Then. It changes. Silence. Because that was the truth. The man looked at the girl one last time. You're dangerous, he said. She didn't respond. Because she knew. Then he turned. And this time. No one stopped him. Because some battles end without a body. And those are the ones that last longer. Dawn came slowly. The house felt different. Not quieter. Not safer. Just honest. The girl sat on the steps. The maid beside her. Bandaged. Alive. Neither spoke for a while. Then. You stayed, the girl said softly. I chose to, the maid replied. A pause. You can still leave, the girl added. I know. Silence. Then. I won't. That answer meant everything. Footsteps approached. The Mafia boss stopped in front of them. For once. He didn't look untouchable. I was wrong, he said. The words felt heavy. Unfamiliar. The girl looked up. About what? A pause. About what matters. Silence. Because that was everything. He looked at the maid. You're not a maid anymore. A beat. Your family. Tears filled her eyes. Not from fear. But from something deeper. Something real. The girl leaned her head against her shoulder. And for the first time, it felt like something had been built. Not forced. Not controlled. Chosen. The boss exhaled slowly. Because this was the cost. Power changed. Control shifted. But something else had taken its place. Something stronger. And as the sun rose, he made one final decision. Not as a boss, but as a father. This house changes, he said quietly. No one argued. Because they all knew. It already had. If this story pulled you in, don't stop here, hit like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments. Would you have made the same choice?